Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be walking you through my edit process. So I'm using Lightroom to edit my pictures. Here is a picture of a wolf I took at animal park. So the picture is taken through a window, and I was really fortunate to have that possibility to take this picture at that framing. So first thing first, I'm not a professional editor. This is just my workflow and how it goes. And I'm working on a try and retry basis. So I try something, I like it, I keep it, I don't like it, I come back, and then I just go back to it. So the first thing I'll do is I have this preset called First Step Plus, and basically what it does is that it straightens the image and it applies the lens correction to my image. As you can see here, the lens correction didn't really work because I've copied the file from one laptop to another, and I can't even find the good model of my lens on it. So I just decided to try see what looks good, and at the end it's not the most important thing, but sometimes it can really change your picture. So here I've just decided to leave it as it is. So then I'm moving to the top of the developing panel, and I'm trying to work my way through all the sliders, and I will expose my picture a little bit more, and then I will go through the highlights and the shadows, and I will move the highlights all the way down, and I will move the shadows all the way up. So by pressing the command key on your computer, you can see this filter that shows you what is overexposed, what is underexposed, and it can be a quite useful trick. So here I really like the way it's going. The grays are looking good on the fur of the wolf, so I will keep going into that direction. I'm moving the whites a bit higher, and I'm going very slowly with my keyboard to make sure that I don't overexpose the white so that I don't pop too much. And you can see that I still have some margin over there, but I'm using this layer to make sure that I don't overexpose something. And then I will do the same thing with the blacks, but just pulling the slider all the way to the left to see where the black starts to burn a bit too much, because I don't want to have pure black on those details of the fur. Moving the texture can bring something to the picture, but you have to be very careful, because it can start to look really weird and really bad very quickly. And I must say, I'm a big fan of clarity, and I'm always using it way too much. So you can see I'm moving all the way up to 100 to see what's the maximal clarity result will go, and then I'm moving my way down to have quite a kind of a balance over there. But I really like this result over there. I think the fur really pops on the wolf, and it looks really good. Now you can see that on the right part of the picture there is these colors, and you can see this tree, and I don't really like that. So I was trying to work my way around that negative space to make it less noticeable at the time. So moving down the saturation is one of my way to do it, trying to just detach the background from the foreground and keeping this magnificent wolf at the top of the picture, and not having this big tree that is trying to attract the eye too much. The sharpening is also a nice tool, and I must confess I don't really know how to use it well, so it's always a bit of a guess, and I'm trying very slowly and just by a couple of touches to see what it can achieve. And it's a great tool, but it's really easy to use it and just to ruin your picture with it. So you always have to be very careful when you're using it, and one of my advice would just to be putting the sharpening and everything on, and just clicking on and off that detail panel to see where this is going and how it looks. And often it will look better, and sometimes it will even look better once you take it off, because the result once zoomed in looks good, but when you look at the full picture it starts to really look way too Photoshop. It's not natural at all. And once you're working with animal images, you can really tell once that's Photoshop way too much, and there is nothing less natural than a photoshopped animal. So you always have to be very careful with it. So now that I've worked with my nose reduction and everything, I'm looking at the presence part of the developing panel and working my way a little bit between the vibrance and saturation, because I wanted to have something that looks black and white but is not black and white. So desaturating it a little bit is a way of doing that. But again, you have to be really careful what you're doing and where you're going. Sometimes you're like, oh, this looks nice, and this looks nice, and this looks nice, and in the end the result can be really deceptive. So you have to always keep in mind and just going up and down and see where this is going and use a little bit of it. Take a step back, look at the result. Do you like it? Yes, no. And sometimes I'll just play with these sliders, and in the end I will just double click on it and put it back to 0 because I don't really like it. So that's another tip. If you see you have all this texture, clarity, all those names, if you double click on it, you will put the value back to 0. So it's a very useful tip, rather than just pull the slider back to 0. So then once I've played with all my sliders, I'll just adjust the contrast a little bit to see if it doesn't look too dark or too bright. My main default is usually that my pictures are a bit too dark, and it depends for what you're editing it. If you're editing for a screen or for a print, you also have to keep in mind that if it's too dark but it goes on the screen, with the luminosity of the screen it might look good, but if you want to print it, what is dark, and the ink speaks for itself. So here I'm working on the framing. So I went for a 5x7 framing, and I'm trying to use my framing to discard the right part of the picture that I don't like, that have all this negative space. And here is my little tip. Is I'm using the brush stroke, and I'm using the effect teeth whitening. So what it does is, you can do that for landscapes when you have rocks and things. You will just highlight a couple of details that are very subtle and will make them pop just a tiny bit, but it can bring a lot to the picture. And it's something that I really like to use, but you have to be very careful not to leave any brush stroke or artifacts too much. You see, if you're going all the way up, you see where it is actually, and when you pull it down, you will realize that it actually makes it really pop. It's like if you're being sculpting your picture with light that is not there. So it is a nice way to cheat on the picture, to have it more lifelike and more natural when the light wasn't there actually. So it gives, to my opinion, a bit more of expression to the picture here. So that's what I really like to do. So here you can see it full frame, and I really like the result. Even though I know the picture is not 100% sharp, the eye is a bit blurry, but I really like the end result on it. So once I finish with my edit, I create a preset for this, and I always save my preset. So I know that there is this brush and everything there, but I always save it in order to use it one more time. So this is how you can save time and add value to your images. Then you can just shuffle through a library of presets, and you can edit your picture in a very nice way very quickly, so it can increase your workflow. So this is my edit of my picture. I hope you really like it. If you would like to have this preset, just send me a message and I can send you the preset for free, and I'll just be happy to share it with you. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any question, just leave a comment, consider subscribing, and I'll hope I will see you soon again. Bye, have a nice day.